Hi there, Dave Markham for the Brockporter. I've been asked by a couple of people to read the voluntary statements of fact that were made by the two college students who complained to the Brockport Police Department about their treatment by Brockport's mayor, Maria Connie Castaneda, when they were tenants in her single-family residence on Main Street. This first statement of fact was made by Nicole Rogers on January 31st, 2012. This statement was made to the Brockport Police Department and the Brockport Code Enforcement Officer. Here's how it reads. The following statement is made by Nicole Rogers, date of birth 11/18/1989, residing at 10 Winthrop Road, Brentwood, New York 11717, in reference to an incident being investigated by the Brockport Police Department and the Brockport Code Enforcement Office. These statements are being made on January 31st, 2012, at or about 3:50 p.m. They are true and correct and are made with the understanding and having full knowledge that false written statements made herein are punishable as a Class A misdemeanor under the Penal Law of the State of New York, Section 210.45. I am currently a senior at SUNY Brockport. I began attending SUNY Brockport in August of 2008. I lived on campus for both my freshman and sophomore years. My freshman year, I met a student by the name of Safari. I believe that's how you spell her name, but I'm not sure. I don't recall her last name at this time, but it's a long last name. During the summer of my sophomore and junior year, Safari called me and asked me if I had found a place to live off campus yet. I told her no, and then she invited me to live with her. She told me the house was off of Main Street, and she told me the rent would be $350 per month for each of us. She told me that the lady who owned the house was a lady by the name of Connie. She then asked me if I wanted the bedroom in the attic or the bedroom on the main floor of the apartment that was below the attic. I told her I wanted the bedroom in the apartment, and Safari said okay. At the end of August 2010, I moved into Connie's house. I met Connie for the first time on the day I moved in. Connie asked me if Safari talked to me and told me how much the rent was. I said she had, and then Connie said that there was no lease and that the rent was due the first of each month. Again, the rent was $350 each. Connie also said the furniture was included and that there was no parking allowed on her property. Shortly after the 1st of September, I gave Connie a money order for $1,750 for the rent of September through December 2010 that also included 1 month's security deposit. I remember I got my money order at the post office on Main Street in Brockport and that the money was subtracted from my Chase debit card. At the time I moved into the house, Safari was already there. A couple of days after I moved in, I helped Safari clean the bedroom she was renting from Connie because Safari was moving into the bedroom in the attic, which is off the apartment I was renting. While giving this statement, you asked me to take a ride with you and point out Connie's house, which is the house I'm speaking of and lived in. I did so and pointed out a house on the corner of Centennial Street and Main Street. The house had the numbers 332 above the front door that faced Main Street. While going by the house on Centennial Street, I pointed out the side door that led into a garage area. That's the door we used to gain access to our apartment. Once inside this door, you go up 2 or 3 steps to another door. Once you go through that door, you are then into a little pantry area. If you go straight, you go through a locked door that leads into the first floor of the house. If you turn right in the pantry area, you go through a door and then up the stairs that lead to the apartment area that I rented. Off my apartment area, there was a stairway that leads to the bedroom in the attic that Safari was renting. There is a door off my apartment that leads to the other side of the house that has 3 more bedrooms, each of which have their There is a door off my apartment that leads to the other side of the house that has 3 more bedrooms, each of which have their own bathroom. 2 of the bedrooms are Connie's son's rooms, and one of the bedrooms is Connie's mother's room. Connie's mother stayed with her during the winter that I was there. Connie has one son named Ben, but I don't know the other son's name because he was away at college while I lived there. While at the police department, you showed me 4 pages of paper that contained a total of 4 photographs. These are photographs of the apartment that I rented from Connie. I took these pictures of my apartment on March 23, 2011, so I could send them to my boyfriend's mother. I kept the pictures in my phone and then forwarded the pictures to the person who told me that it was illegal for Connie to rent that apartment to me. This person eventually forwarded these photographs to you. You asked me to view the photographs and sign my name to them, indicating that these pictures are the pictures I sent to my boyfriend's mother, and also that they are the pictures of the apartment I rented from Connie. I did this. Sometime in September 2010, the smoke alarm started beeping for no reason. Both Safari and I went downstairs and knocked on Connie's door on the first floor of the house located in the pantry area. Connie answered the door, and a man named Norm, who was in the kitchen, said he would come up and take a look at it. He went up and looked at the beeping alarm that was located in the kitchen and fixed it. He also looked at the carbon monoxide detector and said that was okay. During the months of November 2010 and December 2010, he came back to the apartment and continually tried to fix the heat because there wasn't none. He took out the radiator and put electric heater in, but that didn't work either. Connie said that she had to get a piece from Mexico to fix it, but they never did, so I eventually put my own electric heater in. At the end of December 2010, I went home and returned again at the end of January 2011. In December of 2010, Safari left to study abroad. When she returned in January 2011, she officially moved out of Connie's house. I'm not sure where she moved to. For the whole month of January, it was just me living there. Connie initially told me that I had to find someone to live in the attic or I would have to pay the entire $700 per month. I told her that was ridiculous, but eventually I approached my cousin, Ronald Garrett, and he agreed to live in the attic starting the second week of February. For the months of January, February, and March, I paid Connie in a money order that totaled $1,050. I got the money order again from the Brockport post office, and they deducted the amount off my Chase debit card. My cousin Ron gave me $1,050 and asked me to get a money order for him. I took the $1,050 and deposited it into my account at the Chase Bank located at Main and King Street. I then went to the post office in Brockport and got a money order for $1,050. $700 of it was for rent for Ron, and $350 of it was for a security deposit for Ron. Ron lived in the attic until right before the 1st of April 2011. For the months of April and May 2011, I paid Connie cash for my rent. Sometime in March of 2011, Connie approached me and my cousin Ron as we were coming home and said that the lady from the bed and breakfast across the street had told her that we were having a lot of people coming and going from our apartment. I told her that the only extra person that had been at our apartment besides Ron and me was my boyfriend, who had been visiting during his spring break from college. Connie then said that we had to be discreet about who comes in and out because there is a limit to how many people can live here, and I only rent it out for you two. Sometime after this, and while still in the month of March, Connie also told me that if the police or anyone came to the house to not let them in, and that if they asked who I or my cousin Ron were, to say we were cousins of Connie's and that we were just visiting her. Around the end of March or the beginning of April 2011, I was in my apartment and I started smelling smoke. Eventually, the smoke alarms, both downstairs and upstairs, went off. Norm came upstairs and he told me everything was fine and for me to stay in my apartment. I heard sirens and looked out my window and saw that the fire department was at Connie's. While this was happening, my cousin Ron called me, who was working at Arby's, and saw smoke coming from the direction of Connie's house. He asked whose house was on fire, and I said it was Connie's house. Ron asked me where I was in the house, and I told him I was still in my apartment. He told me that wasn't right, and for me to go outside, and that he would be coming there from Arby's. I never did go outside, but within a couple of minutes, Ron got there and came upstairs to my apartment. The fire department never came into the house, and according to Ron, he heard Norm tell them everything was okay. In May of 2011, I moved out of Connie's house and returned to Brentwood, New York until the start of the next semester when I moved into an apartment on Erie Street. I didn't want to go back to Connie's because everything was a hassle. We couldn't have people over, we had to be discreet about living there. We couldn't park in the driveway, and although everything was included, she cut off the internet sometime around October or November of 2010. Prior to moving out, I asked Connie for my security deposit back, but she said she wasn't going to return it to me because my cousin Ron moved out before the end of the semester. Connie made me feel responsible for the fact that Ron moved out, so I never pursued it. While looking for another place to live next year, I met someone who asked me where I had previously lived. I told them at Connie's house. They asked me if it was Connie who was mayor, and I said yes. While living at Connie's house, I had learned from other people that Connie was the mayor of Brockport. They told me that she wasn't allowed to have people rent from her there, and that it was illegal to do that. They then encouraged me to come to the police and speak with the police chief, which I did. I gave this statement to Chief Daniel Varenti of my own free will and with no threats or promises made to me or him or any other police officer. I have read this statement. It is accurate, affirmed under the penalty of perjury. Nicole Rogers signed that on January 31st, 2012, and it was witnessed by Daniel P. Varenti, Chief of Police. In another video, I will read the statement of fact of Safira Bala Harewood, who was the other college student who recruited Nicole to live in the apartment in Connie's house.